What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and today we're talking about Xbox because there has been a tremendous amount of discussion and debate about the next Microsoft acquisition. At this point, everything that Xbox has attempted to buy, they've been able to do. They bought Activision Blizzard, they bought Bethesda and id, they bought stuff like Tango Gameworks and then immediately shut it down. They bought Double Fine, they bought the people that made Hellblade. I mean, it's pretty obvious that Microsoft continues to grow their trillion-dollar brand, and dumping a bunch of cash into Xbox is part of their master plan. But there has been a specific talk that's been stirring up, which is this question. What happens if Xbox buys Sega? Now, I'm obviously very biased here because I like Sega a lot. I've got my Sonic Adventure 2 shirt on. I mean, I want to talk about this because obviously it would be bad, but let's talk about why it would be bad. Hi, hope you're having a great day. If you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah, you know what? Let's get this to 2,000 likes in honor of Sonic Adventure 2. So this was kind of the original inspiration for this entire rant, is this very viral tweet that was going around the entire weekend, which is this guy essentially begging Microsoft to buy Sega. He says that right now, technically, currently, Sega is the most purchasable they've ever been. They're currently $41 million down their last fiscal year, but that's because Sega's been making their own acquisitions. Now, the Sega brand is a lot bigger than people sometimes kind of fathom. The fact that they are actually doing stuff like there is, obviously the last couple Sonic games have been extremely successful. Jet Set Radio is coming back. They're even today talking about the Crazy Taxi open world reboot, which is going to apparently be massively multiplayer in AAA. Sega is not sitting around waiting to be bought. And of course, Sega is also directly involved with the development of Persona, which is bigger than it's ever been, and stuff like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, the people that make the Yakuza games. Sega is a very, very big brand that quietly has been burning up the last couple of years especially. So a lot of the replies are, to put it nicely, overwhelmingly negative, saying stuff like, yes, if Sega gets bought, they will lose hundreds of jobs instantly. Xbox is basically the Grim Reaper meme at this point. I'd rather not. A lot of these people are like, okay, you can't support Xbox making acquisitions because even by their own discussions, they have talked about the fact that Xbox has been trouble keeping track with their own size. Like, this is the current head of Xbox Game Studios, Matt Booty, and honestly, Matt Booty has been personally responsible for a lot of these studio closures. We decided to cancel, this is like a fake quote of what would happen if they decide to buy it. We've decided to cancel the new Streets of Rage, Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, Golden Axe, and put all their resources into the next Halo game. Oh yeah, and they're only going to be making Yakuza games, no more Super Monkey Ball, because we don't like a variety of IPs. Now, this is clear. There have been multiple interviews now where Phil Spencer, where a lot of the top dogs over at Xbox have said that they're having some difficulty dealing with the unwieldy size of current Xbox. This is a tweet from a couple months ago, which essentially spells out the fact that this is the Xbox Studios roadmap. Now, I'm not going to claim that Xbox doesn't have games or they don't have enough release dates and stuff like that. This is everything currently owned by Microsoft that is in development. And you can see it is a tremendous stuff. There's already, just counting what's already released, stuff like Psychonauts, the Quake remake, obviously tons of stuff. Ghostwire Tokyo, oh wait, that studio got shut down. Minecraft Legends, which is pretty much forgotten. My point here is the fact that Microsoft themselves has talked about the fact that being in charge of thousands and thousands and thousands of employees that are all over the world in different time zones working on different projects, both top secret and known, is actually very difficult for them. Like, just them buying Activision Blizzard King, this was such a big transaction, and they admitted the fact that they've been having trouble trying to move these 10,000 employees into the already rather bulky Xbox business. If anything, I think that if they buy more companies, Xbox will suffer if they decided to buy it. I think it would completely ruin Sega, which seems difficult to even imagine because Sega continues to just stay their own path and have their own fan base that's so incredibly active. This is Nick Special. He's the guy who leaks a lot of stuff. He is the co-founder of Xbox Era. So this guy, he typically cheers on Xbox quite a bit, but he does have a very level head about the current state of Microsoft, and he says this: please know, I don't want this anymore. If Microsoft wants to do anything, maybe fund Virtual Fighter 6 to go along Killer Instinct 2 and start getting some of these nice fighting games back. Yeah, I think if anything, like Microsoft is in this spot where because they have laid off so many people, because they have claimed redundancies when buying a studio and then doing mass firings immediately, a lot of people are like, okay, this is kind of pathetic. I see some people kind of kicking around the idea of people like this just saying that it's actually sad to Photoshop fake acquisition stuff like this. It's very weird that they're begging for a buyout. Now, additionally, this is one of those accounts. Some people, if you pay for the check mark on Twitter, you get paid for people going viral with your tweets. If you get lots of retweets, if you get lots of likes and comments and engagement, they actually give you a paycheck. This is not a check mark account. This is a guy who clearly actually believes this. He actually just says, like, he is a person that just sits here and fantasizes about what the next buyout should be. So it's weird that he would pick this. Now, honestly, I have tons and tons of people that are just actively against this, and I feel like a lot of it comes down to Tango Gameworks. Tango is a company we've talked about a lot for the last 2 months because Tango is a studio that was not making hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, obviously, The Evil Within was popular. It was pretty dang good. I am a big fan of The Evil Within and its DLC. But then they made, of course, the greatness that is Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush won awards. It was quirky. It was very, very good. It was the high-caliber, low-budget game that pretty much any publisher would absolutely dream of. And yet they still chose to completely shut down Tango. I'm almost nervous about the idea of experimentation under the Xbox umbrella, because at this point, Microsoft can afford failures. They don't need everything to be the biggest bombshell Call of Duty thing on the planet, but if Daddy Microsoft requires a certain sales number, or your studio gets shut down, I think that added pressure, if anything, it hurts the game experience rather than improves it. It just feels like developers. It just seems like the guys who are actually working on this very fun, very, very specific art make worse games if they're just constantly stressed out that if their game isn't theoretically a mega hit, they all get washed. That's kind of my primary thought, is just reflected in a lot of these tweets, which is the idea that if Microsoft buys anybody, there is going to be closures. And I actually think this would probably happen with PlayStation as well. If for some reason Sony decided to buy Sega, I still feel like the tone would change. The output, the games themselves would definitely pivot to some degree. But I guess I just don't like the idea of cheering on acquisitions at this point. I mean, I've done it in the past. I'm sure somebody in the comment section is probably going to quote like some time where I said, hey, Sony should buy Square Enix, because I did say that years and years ago, I think. But I think I have soured on the idea of acquisitions unless absolutely necessary. If your studio is bleeding money while working on actually good stuff, I want somebody to come in and sort of be an angel investor, somebody to fund more great stuff. But Sega is solvent. Sega is still completely doing great, and they've got more ideas in the bank. Like, obviously right here, they show Skies of Arcadia and Panzer Dragoon. These are games that are both incredibly fantastic. Personally, I still think that Skies of Arcadia is the greatest Dreamcast game of all time, even above Shenmue. My thought is the fact that Sega, if they really needed the cash, could start to do remasters and remakes and completely kill it. The fact that people are saying that Sega would somehow find a good home at Microsoft, Phil Spencer would definitely start firing people. Day one, we would see firings. I think I'm in a spot where I am not going to push back against people like this in such a hard fashion. I don't think this person is, dumb or misguided. I think this person just does not understand what they're saying. Sega getting bought means we get less of the Sega we love. and I mean that for anything. Like Square Enix, I'm a big Final Fantasy fanatic. I'm completely obsessed with Resident Evil. If somebody bought Square Enix or somehow managed to afford the raw scope of Capcom, if somebody bought Capcom for like $7 billion or whatever, I still feel like those would change. Release dates, the amount of games as a service stuff, the amount of pre-order bonuses or season passes, I feel like the games we love, when they get scooped up and acquired, they have to change. They have to prove to their investors, they have to prove to their stockholders and stuff like that. It no longer just becomes about making good games. Instead, it starts to become this matter of, okay, how much can we instantly earn back the cash we spent, even if it hurts the games? But these have just been some off-the-cuff thoughts, because honestly, I've kind of been in a Sega mood, and seeing this go so viral, so many people were talking about that, almost 1,000 retweets, and honestly, all of them are negative. Let's just for funsies, just to end this off, view post engagements, quotes, I'm betting every single one is like, man, how can you keep calling for stuff like this? Notice how Xbox fans only want acquisitions instead of games. Cannot imagine anything other than making bad corporate art. Yeah, everybody, just replying with pictures of Hi-Fi Rush, I think is very understandable. But tell me your thoughts on this in the comments down below. How do you feel about the idea of Xbox buying Sega, or Xbox buying anybody for that matter at this point? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And please keep dreaming. There is actually going to be a couple good reviews in July. I've seen some people saying that July is a bit of a dead month this year. Yeah, definitely no AAA releases, but I'm going to try and talk about some indie games and some AA stuff, and hopefully stuff is more entertaining than our last couple Julys, which have been a bit of a snooze fest. But I love you guys very much. Have a good one. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.